Jet fans. This is FSPN, the Frankie Sports Programming Network, the most trusted name in fake news. We got a ticker up above. We got a logo switcher over there. We got a docket over there. We got all this stuff going on. My name is Frankie from Flatbush, the crook from the brook. The feds hate me. The most shady Frankie baby. Now let's go. What do we got today, Frankie? Well, it's all quiet on the One Jets Drive front. You saw a lot of movement in the NFL today. Some people being fired, some people staying on. But nothing you heard from the Jets. And you might be saying, wait a minute, something's up there. But no. Later today we heard from Zach Rosenblather that Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji will meet with the media tomorrow. A lot of the teams are meeting with the media, so I guess it is required by the NFL. Too much media, in my opinion. But one thing to keep in mind that we learned yesterday, really, there was an update with regard to the draft, and something I didn't know. And tell me, did you know this? So we have the second overall pick in the first round. And normally if you have the second overall pick or whatever, wherever you are, you have that pick in each and every one of the rounds. However, there's a little known fact that if in fact you are tied in record with any other teams, then in the first round, the order is determined by strength of schedule and if that's tied by other factors. But then that does not hold in the subsequent rounds. In the subsequent rounds, those teams that are tied rotate and move up and down in each round. So, in other words, we came in second in the first round, but tied with three other teams for a total of 4 in record. So what that means is in the second round, we now have the first pick because we rotate up and everybody moves up and the Raiders move to 4 out of the 4. Then in the third round, our pick becomes the last one. Fourth, that would be the Raiders pick. Then in the fourth round, it becomes the third one of the pick. Then in the fifth round, it becomes the second one of the pick. Sixth round, first of the pick of the round, so forth and so on. But most importantly, it just means that we will have the 33rd pick of the draft, not the 34th, which is important. That pick is very valuable. Remember, the first round is all night, Friday night, and then everybody goes home, sleeps on it, and says, okay, who's left on this draft board? And we get first pick of the second round. Or you can trade it. Let's say there's a quarterback on the board. We've already taken our quarterback, let's say, or whatever. But there's another quarterback on the board that some other team wants to take, but they don't want to risk anybody else taking him. We can make a trade. That's a very tradable pick. So very, very interesting. And I don't know if anybody knew about that. I'd never heard of that, and I've been covering this stuff for a while. But it is true. I looked it up, researched it. Reliable sources tell FSPN, yes, indeed, that's the way it is. Now, in other media news, Todd McShitHead has continued to come out and punch down on the Jets. Now, Todd McShitHead, otherwise known as McShay, you may have heard he said, none of the players coming into the draft want to go to the Jets. And he doesn't state any sources or tell you any information, but this is a pattern of Todd McShitHead punching down on the Jets. And how uncourageous of a man are you? If you just continually punch down on, let's call it what it is, downtrodden clubs like the Jets. I mean, we're a bottom 3 franchise in the NFL right now. And Woody Johnson's a bottom 5 owner, and we're just a downtrodden team. What is the point of Todd McShitHead punching down on us? I mean, after all, is there a more dysfunctional team than the Raiders? But you don't see Todd McShitHead punching up at the Raiders. Why? Because they have Tom Brady. No one's allowed to attack Tom Brady, and Todd McShitHead, of course, is not courageous enough as a man to punch up at Tom Brady. He would never do it. So he punches down on the Jets because he knows Woody's not going to punch back. And the fan base, most of you don't even care enough to unsubscribe or whatever. But I would recommend all Jet fans boycott Todd McShay, a.k.a. Todd McShitHead, Just because, and let's look at his track record. Here's the track record of Todd McShitHead, if you think he's a reliable voice on draft stuff. Big Jimmy Clausen guy, bust. Big Jake Locker guy, bust. Hated Russell Wilson due to his height. That's going to be a Hall of Famer, Russell Wilson. Thought Micah Parsons had character issues. Never materialized. Thought Jalen Carter had too many character issues to be drafted. He's been a Pro Bowl, all-pro player. Same for Kayvon Thibodeau. He's been a little bit of a disappointment, but character issues is not the problem with Kayvon Thibodeau. A study was done and found that McShay's projections for the draft, I forget which one, I don't have this written down, which one it was, but he was off by about 35 picks. So he said this guy would go here. He went 35 picks later. That's about a round plus off. This guy was a big Johnny Manziel guy. Thought he would be great. He was not. Zach Wilson reminds him of Patrick Mahomes and a little bit of Drew Brees in him. That's a direct quote Todd McShitHead said of Zach Wilson. Mahomes and Drew Brees. Second round grade on Shedeur Sanders. He went in the 5th round. 5 quarterbacks in the 2023 draft will be going in the 1st round. Feels very confident about it, Todd McShay said. Pickett, Corral, Willis, Ritter, Howell. Thought they all had round 1 grades. This is who you're dealing with. And so I would say just based on the fact he doesn't know what he's talking about, number one, and then number 2, he keeps punching down on your New York Jets. Now, we all know the Jets, I mean, we don't need to be told that the Jets are a ghetto franchise. We already know that. But nonetheless, like you can hate Woody Johnson all you want, and we all do, but he hasn't violated any league rules. What about Mr. Bidwell out there in Arizona? Fined, suspended, multiple rule breaking. How about, but he doesn't punch down on him. Why not? Maybe Bidwell is like a real man and would do something about it. Why doesn't he, as I spill water on myself, like a true journalist, Frankie? Well, I'm not a journalist, but why doesn't he take Robert Kraft to task? Robert Kraft was arrested and charged with 3 counts of illegal prostitution solicitation. But then the case was thrown out because he has very powerful lawyers. So here's a guy, does illegal stuff, allegedly, not proven in court because it was thrown out because his lawyers are very powerful and some technicality threw it out of court, but he was charged. And then in addition to that, you had Deflategate and Spygate and every kind of gate you could imagine had to do with the Patriots and Brady and Belichick, and he's the owner. So we're not going to punch up at Robert Kraft. We're going to punch down at Woody Johnson just because the team stinks and we haven't been able to find a quarterback since Mark Sanchez. That's what we're doing. No bueno. And then, his draft takes are horrible. So I would say for all Jet fans, it makes sense to totally boycott Todd McShay, a.k.a. Todd McShitHead, because I just find it very, I don't know, what would you call it? Pussy, wussy, unmanly, uncourageous, any kind of word like that you want to throw at it, to punch down at a downtrodden franchise that, let's face it, has a bottom 5 owner, has a terrible stadium located in New Jersey, and has a very tough time thereby attracting coaching talent and so forth and so on. And we're on our 5 million rebuild right now, but we all understand these facts. It's like you want to make news by punching down. It's like you're punching on a disabled kid. It's like saying, you're disabled, boom, boom, boom. Like, yeah, the kid knows he's disabled. You don't have to like punch him like to make it worse. Like, so it's really disgusting behavior. But this guy continues to have a podcast, I guess. But whatever things that you can boycott of his, whether it's a podcast or whatever, go ahead and boycott it, I would say. That's my advice. All right, next up on the old docket. We got a docket over here. Player exit interview. So interestingly, we're now in year 1. I call 2025 year 0 of the rebuild, and now we're going into year 1, in my opinion. But we had player exit interviews about year 0. And you heard a lot of positive things from the players, surprisingly. Jermaine Johnson talked about leadership and accountability and took it on himself and said it's not on AG, it's on the players. Very mature comments, as you would expect from Jermaine. John Simpson said it would be a quote-unquote honor to come back. He wants to very badly, loves his brothers there on the offensive line. Harrison Phillips had very high praise for AG and what the vision is. Quincy Williams said he would love to come back, and he's excited for where we go from here, though. He said, even, he was talking about we had a bad season, but we're excited for where we go from here, though. If he in his mind was already leaving, I don't think he would use the word we. But we'll have to see about Quincy. Josh Myers, who had a 90.2 grade in the final game, said it's on the players and not AG. Josh Myers said, I've been around enough good leaders to know AG, is a great one. So that's a lot of praise from a lot of dudes who are veterans and who've been around and who just came off a 3-win season. So that, to me, is kind of exciting. That means some of the players are buying in. And the reason I call this year one, we made a lot of mistakes in year 0 in player acquisition. We took a dice throw on Justin Fields, didn't work. And then, the backups weren't great. Tyrod kept getting injured. And then we had to go to Brady Cook, who's a practice squad player. And you saw that play out. But now they're going to get a full offseason to reload. Spotrac has us at $90.5 million in cap space. That's plenty enough to buy a lot of players. And then we got all these draft picks, and we got to hit on those draft picks. So this is a very key offseason for AG. I think he got all of his rookie mistakes out of the way, let's hope, in year 0. And then he becomes a better coach in terms of game management. And then he has a better roster with which to win games. And you have to hope, of course, that we get the quarterback situation right. Now, I have something I think in the ticker about Malik Willis. That'll probably be a target of ours, but there's going to be a lot of competition for him. The Browns could go after him. The Raiders could go after. There could be teams going after him. I think we have a good situation to sell him and the agent on why he should come here. We do have a lot of pieces. Our offensive line is pretty good. We got Garrett Wilson and A.D. Mitchell. Those are 2 good weapons on the outside. We'll add another round 1 receiver for sure this year. So you'll have playmakers. Our tight end situation is okay. So that's a lot to like there. Running game, we're going to retain Breece Hall, I still say. And if we do, then you can point to Breece and Isaiah and Braylon and say we're going to have a good running game. We came in probably top 10 in running, and we probably ended up in 10, 12. So you say, all right. And then if we go and sign somebody like a Linderbaum, well, then you say, look at this offensive line. We're going to do even better with the running game. That's going to set up the passing game. Bada bing, bada boom. We got a lot of things to like here where the Raiders do not. What do the Raiders have? They have a very bad offensive line. They have basically 1 or 2 skilled players that you like. That's not a great situation. And their defense is horrible, as is ours. But so that's not a situation you like. And then the Browns, for example, the things they need are the things a quarterback needs, which is offensive line and wide receivers. Yeah, they're going to try to address them this year, especially in the draft and free agency and so forth, but they don't have the pieces in place right now, and free agency starts before the draft, remember. So, yeah, there's going to be competition for him, but that could be the solution. We'll have to see how this draft goes. All eyes now, of course, on Dante Moore. Now, speaking of which, let's go to a football roundup. We got a roundup. Bink. Football world roundup. So it was Black Monday today, and so a lot of coaches got fired. The firings so far, as we know them, Brian Daboll, Brian Callahan, Pete Carroll, Raheem Morris, and Terry Fontenot over with the Falcons, Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals, Kevin Stefanski with the Browns, Chris Greer, the GM of the Dolphins. They're sticking, it looks like, with McDaniel, which is a smart thing to do. But that's a lot of openings. The ones that surprised me the most are Radio Raheem Morris and Kevin Stefanski. Raheem is already getting interviewed for the Titans job, so I think they made a mistake there. But if Morris is not able to land a head coaching job elsewhere, he becomes a candidate for us for defensive coordinator. He's from New Jersey. He's tight with AG, runs the same thing that AG traditionally runs, whereas a Wink Martindale or a Brian Flores would be a total change in philosophy. So we'll have to see how we approach that. Stefanski's the one that surprises me the most. He's going to be a hot candidate, and that tells you the Browns probably made a mistake. Blaming him for, I mean, basically the problem with the Browns has been the quarterback position. That's the only thing that's really gone wrong. And I don't think it was Kevin Stefanski that did the deal for Deshaun Watson. I mean, the quarterback position plus that deal, they thought that deal was solving the quarterback position, but they gave up so much to get him, both in draft capital and money, and guaranteed money. These ideas were not Stefanski's. And then Watson didn't work out. He didn't want to, I mean, maybe he gave the thumbs up. Yeah, I can work with Watson, but he wasn't the one who traded 3 first-round picks and all this other stuff and gave him a guaranteed contract. That was all Barry. And Andrew Barry's been a terrible drafter all these years up until last year. He had a banger of a draft, killed it, absolutely killed it. Great job on that. But the previous years were not great. So how the hell Stefanski takes the fall there, I don't know. But that draft really saved Barry's job, let's be honest. But you know that they made a mistake when Stefanski's going to be a very hot name. He's going to interview with the Giants for sure, the Titans, all the positions. Basically, Stefanski's going to be the hottest candidate this year. If that's the case and you're the owner of the Browns and you see Stefanski being wanted by all these people, but how it plays out, so Raheem Morris is a very important candidate to keep an eye on. He could be a very logical DC hire for us. He's one of these guys, all right, maybe it didn't work out as a head coach, but he's a very, very well-respected defensive mind. And I'm sure that Raheem is going to be pounding the table for the type of guys that they drafted in Atlanta that we did not draft here and acquire, both free agency and in the draft. So that's just the way it goes, you know. With that, so the other things to keep in mind. So Gannon could be a DC candidate. He's a well-respected defensive coach. And then the Raiders, we have to watch what the Raiders do because the Raiders, of course, have the first overall pick. The conventional wisdom is they'll just take Mendoza. That may be true, but we don't know yet. It depends who they hire, who they want, and who's in the draft. If it's Mendoza and Moore, for example, the rumor now with the Raiders is that Brady wants to hire the Patriot Way. By the way, the Patriot Way is also known as Tom Brady and Alex Guerrero, if you want to throw it in there. And Guerrero's with the Raiders now, so. But anyway, so the Brady wants to bring the Patriot Way to the Raiders, not with Bill Belichick, but instead with Brian Flores as the head coach and Brian Daboll, the Bryans, as your offensive coordinator. And Daboll might want a quarterback more like Dante Moore than like Fernando Mendoza. So those are the kind of things we got to look at when we're considering what the Raiders are going to do. And Dante Moore makes sense for the Raiders in another way, because if you do take him first overall, he probably needs a redshirt season. The kid's 20 years old. And with, or at least a redshirt period of time, maybe some games, do the Jackson Dart plan, and that's the plan that Daboll came up with. And so there would be another connection for why they would want Moore over Mendoza, and you just wait and see, and maybe it's 6 games, 7 games, however many games into the season, then here comes Dante Moore, and you already have the bridge guy, and it's Geno Smitty. So we'll have to see about that. Those are the important things to keep in mind with regard to us. We'll see what AG and Muji have to say tomorrow. So we'll probably do another show tomorrow. We generally do these Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but we're probably going to have to change up our scheduling for the off season as well. There's just not enough news to probably do 3 shows plus a live show on Sunday. So we'll probably do 2, and maybe we start that off on a Tuesday instead of a Monday, and maybe tomorrow is the start of that, since AG and Muji will be speaking tomorrow. So, breaking news, we do have some 5 minutes ago from Dennis Wazak, graduate of Zavarian High School, as is this guy. Basically, I went to high school with Dennis Wazak. But he works for the AP now, and he's reporting Jets have started signing players to the reserve future contracts. Jamal Pritchett, Liam Fornadell, Pascal Ikeji, Ochuan Mathis, and Samuel Womack. So there's an interesting name in here, and that is Pascal Ikeji. So Ikeji gets a futures contract. That is important. He is the international pathway player who I was hoping would get a call-up for the last game, but he did not. But that is a guy that at least they've seen enough. So he came in for a workout. They signed him to the P squad. Most of these guys come in for workouts and then they leave without a contract. This is a rugby player. But they signed him to the P squad, and now they're signing him for a future contract for next year. So this is a guy, okay, get a future contract, get a little bit of money in your pocket, do an off-season workout, with NFL dudes, go to a camp or 3 or 5 or whatever it is, and hopefully develop. And that's what it is with that. And so these other guys are just, they're your P Squad starter pack. This is your P Squad starter pack. Jamal Pritchett, Fornadell. Now, some of the guys we brought up for the last game, like Skinner, doesn't need to be signed because he's already on the 53-man. So he'll be here for next year for training camp. As well as those other guys that we signed. But this is an interesting starter pack. We'll see who else they sign. We'll just take a look at our feeds here and see. Interesting that I don't see the Jets announcing those things. So Wazak has it, but the Jets haven't announced it publicly as far as I can tell. Let me just check this feed here. And here it is. We've signed the following. Yeah, so same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there will be more of these to come. But the interesting name to me is Pascal Ikeji. If you could get something out of Pascal Ikeji, that would be fantastic. If he could become a third down pass rusher, and that's it, that's all he is, boy, that's valuable. That is so valuable. Because it would be an El Cheapo contract, and you just deploy him on 3rd and long. It's such a valuable piece of a team to have. So there you go. 5 to the reserve future contract situation for next year. We'll see more of those as we move along, and then we'll cover what AG and Muji say tomorrow. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We're trying to get up to 2,000. Would appreciate your help with that. Otherwise, just give a like to the video or join up to the inner circle. Those members, they get exclusive items, things that you got to pay for on the market. I give them to you for free. Draft guides, other things. And if you're new to the inner circle and you just joined, make sure to check the posts tab, or it may say members. The YouTube changes it up sometimes. But check on this channel for the posts tab. That's where I'm going to be communicating with you most of the time. So check that out. All right. With that said, I'll see you tomorrow.